best, number one and nothing less. Lead me to my destiny. I have waited patiently. I have vision, though I believe. I know I can count on me. So stand up for the champions, for the champions. Stand up, stand up, stand up for the champions, for the champions.
It's all about information security and much about global standards. Over the years, the world has come to know how devastating it is for sensitive information to fall into wrong hands. Nations have been torn apart and organizations doomed through sensitive information falling in the hands of those with sinister intentions. Time after time, experts and stakeholders world over have brainstormed and crafted policies and standard procedures for securing and managing information within organizations and beyond. To promote information integrity across the world, global watchdogs have been instituted and charged with the responsibility of auditing information management and security procedures of organizations in diverse fields of endeavor globally, as well as issuing certification to those compliant with international best practices. This gave birth to the British Standards Institute as a globally accepted body with the mandate to audit organizational systems such as the Information Security Management System and issue certification to those compliant with international standards. Nigeria, like every other progressive nation, strives to achieve excellence across the board.
Everybody all over the world is looking up to Nigeria to make significant changes, to change the country, to transform the country. And that can only be done by a good leadership.
Theirs is a story of resilience and commitment to international best practices. In this regard, President Goodluck Jonathan has mandated Nigerian ministries, departments and agencies to straighten their operational procedures and align their systems with globally acceptable standards. It's been a long time coming, but today the Central Bank of Nigeria, under the leadership of Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, is blazing the trail as the first financial regulator in Africa to acquire the Information Security Management System, the ISO 27001 certification from the world-renowned British Standards Institute. This achievement of the CBN has placed Nigeria on the pedestal of international best practices and has earned the Central Bank of Nigeria a place among the league of quintessential financial regulators across the globe.
So for me in the central bank, it was important that we set up systems that were at least as good, if not better, than the banks that we're regulating. It was important for us, being a banker to the government, being a regulator. It was even more important that we had a focus on information security than the commercial banks. So that was the initial driver, and it was something that ultimately was accepted by the team and shared by top management and pushed to the end.
It has placed us at a higher level and it's complemented the very, very high rating that Central Bank has enjoyed in the last few years. Of course, we've been collecting awards on our roles in financial stability. We've been collecting global and regional awards on our role in maintaining macroeconomic stability, low inflation, and all the activities going on in Central Bank. And this will also add a feather to our cap that in addition to these key roles that Central Bank is performing and all the accolades, even the information that they have is also as secure as it can possibly be based on global best practice.
On a strategic level, it puts Central Bank at the level of some of the finest organizations in the world, because the Central Bank will be seen across the world amongst its stakeholders as a company that they can do business with, as a company that they can trust, as a company that has done the necessary things to ensure that the information security practice in its organization is effective and is efficient.
With the information security management system in place at the CBN, the bank now has an appropriate and systematic management framework to adequately protect all information in its custody and continuously ensure their confidentiality, availability, and integrity.
Information security systems begin with ensuring, first of all, that information assets are identified and the movement of traffic is monitored. You've got classification. Obviously, the kind of checks and balances you put in will depend on the kind of risk assessment you have on the type of information that is being moved and specifics of the controls on different types of information and information assets across the bank.
So what the information security management system allows us to do is to put in processes in place, controls, technology, people awareness to ensure that this information that is held in custody on behalf of our stakeholders and clients is properly protected.
As the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a step, that of the ISO 27001 certification for the CBN began on the 9th of July 2012. Though the journey was tough and demanding for the CBN, the unity of purpose and drive for excellence of its management and staff saw the bank through. With the unflinching devotion of all 27 departments of the bank and the expertise of Global InfoSwift, the consultants that worked on the project, the ISO 27001 certification was made a reality for the Central Bank of Nigeria within 12 months.
It took us about 12 months to achieve this, and there are basically 4 steps, to this. One is the plan, the do, the check, and the act. And Central Bank went through the entire 4 processes to prepare them for this certification before the British Standard Institute came to do their final audit, which is the stage 1 and the stage 2. Audit by BSI was indeed very, very tasking because every single department within the organization was audited, and we checked the operating procedures within the department to make sure that they're in conformance to the standard.
To a very large extent, I think that this certification and all the sort of processes and controls that were tightened as a result of the build-up to obtaining this accreditation have gone a long way in strengthening information security management within the bank, and by so doing actually strengthening enterprise risk management across the bank.
All is well that ends well, they say. Today, the British Standards Institute has found the Central Bank of Nigeria worthy of the ISO 27001 certification after an extensive and rigorous audit of its information security and management procedures, and the certification has been issued accordingly. In the light of the ISO 27001 certification, the CBN has further reflected the fundamentals of its core values of meritocracy, learning, customer focus, and leadership.
Our strategy in the central bank is to be not a model central bank, but to be the model central bank. And that basically means that in whatever we do, whatever practices we have, whatever processes we run, whatever activities we perform, we should actually be best in class.
With the implementation of the ISMS in Central Bank, we are now operating at the highest level, in line with the best practice across the world as far as information security is concerned.
Though the certification is not an end in itself, but a means to an end, the CBN has now instituted policies, structures, and procedures that will stand the test of time and continually ensure information integrity within the bank.
If you look at where cybercrime is today globally, and the volume of activities around the information superhighway, The government agencies don't really have any choice. They don't have any option other than to upgrade their information security, and this standard is very important because going through the rigorous process of getting certified means that they definitely have to dust up their information security. The Central Bank of Nigeria regulates banks and other financial institutions. For those ones we regulate, particularly commercial banks, we have made it mandatory for them to be so certified before end of 2015.
CBN has been certified. We're proud to be certified, but however, this certificate is only valid for 3 years. BSI would come every 6 months to do a follow-on audit to ensure that our controls are still meeting the needs and requirements of that standard. And at the end of every 3 years, the certificate can either be withdrawn or reissued. But we know it will be reissued for CBN because we are on top of our game.
The real challenge, obviously, is not just to get certified, but to maintain that status. And I think many institutions make the mistake of getting certification and then slipping back without implementation. So it's the day-to-day process of remaining certified, building a risk culture, building a consciousness. So it's, for me, a journey, not a destination. It is a first major step, and we've got to continue until we get to a point where we think and live security and risk. At the end of the day, the most important thing is the present, to do what you think is the right thing to do at any point in time, and to remember that it's a job where you always do the right thing and not always the popular thing.
Excellence truly is achieved through the vision of men and women who have made a choice to leave prints in the sands of time and write their names in gold with exceptional achievement in their given space and time. It is the dawn of an era of alignment with international best practices for Nigeria, and indeed another integrity mission accomplished for the Central Bank of Nigeria.